What's going on, guys? I am finally back. Wow, it's been way too long and I'm finally back with another tutorial for you guys. We're gonna take a look at 12 photos I shot in the past 6 months. A couple are GoPro, a couple are from my Sony. So yeah, let's go over and let's dive on into this tutorial. So for the first photo, we're in San Gorgonio. We did a backpacking trip back in January. It was just completely covered in snow. So the lighting was beautiful, the snow was fantastic. We left with a handful of great shots. So right now we can see that the image is decently exposed. It's a little blown out in the sky right there in the clouds, but that's not too bad. Before I begin, take a look at the histogram here. You can see that it's a little blown out in the clouds and the blacks are nicely exposed. Use the histogram every time you color correct your photos and even videos. You want to keep the blacks true and rich and not murky or milky, and you want to keep the whites crisp but not blown out, and you want to keep that detail. So this photo, we're just going to up the contrast a bit. We're going to decrease the highlights. And when you look at the histogram here, it breaks off into different sections. So you have the blacks, shadows, exposure, highlights, and whites. So all these adjustments down here affect this part of the histogram. So let's bump up the shadows a bit to gain the detail in the trees. We can bring up the whites a bit to bring out this little section down here. Do the blacks. Yeah, so right now it's just like nicely touched up. We have a good amount of contrast in here. So this is the first step that I do with every photo. I'll go through and do the basic treatments, and then I'll cruise on down to vibrance, add a little bit of that. The tone curve, we'll do this simple little S curve. We'll cruise down to the HSL. And let's see, I want to have the brush come out with color. So we'll add saturation to the orange, into the yellow. Looks like there's really no green over there. I'm not a big fan of really dark blue skies, but doing a little bit of that looks good. And then you can see that Scott and Jose here have red backpacks. So adding some red saturation there will make it look good. Lens corrections, we're using the GoPro Hero 6. It warped a little bit. The wide angle lens on the GoPro likes to distort it a bit. And yeah, I'll do the lens correction on every photo, and then I'll do about like 15 on sharpening. So yeah, there's the before and after, and it's a super simple image, one of my favorites from that trip. So yeah, next shot. So since we're already on sharpening here, we'll add 15. And we'll start off with the lens correction. And you can see it's a little blown out, that little spot right there. So that's not too bad. But I do like upping the exposure in these snowy environments. Adding some contrast. Just do the highlights a bit down, shadows up, blacks down. And in one of my older videos, someone commented about that. I upped the exposure, but I decreased the highlights. And that's pretty redundant. But it's not. When you look at the histogram here, exposure adjusts the central block of all the pixels. The highlights adjust the section above that. So when you increase exposure, your whole image brightens. But because I want the shadows and everything to increase along with, I could decrease the highlights to tone it down just a bit. And it's the same with the shadows and the blacks. When you don't adjust the shadows here, you don't get that detail. And if you just adjust the blacks, you can see that it like fades everything. So being able to up the shadows a bit, but then decrease the blacks gives you that detail, but that rich color that we're looking for. The white balance looks pretty good in this photo. I'm happy with that. So we'll keep on going. I really never touch the white balance slider unless the auto white balance on my camera messed up. So it's very rare that I'll use it. Yeah, since this photo is dominated by white here, we'll warm it up a bit through the HSL. Add a little blue to the sky. Could darken the orange and the yellow a bit. And the green. And there we are. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that image right there. So let's cruise on to the next one. Okay, we're in Mammoth again. Instead of having a nice cloudy and sunny day, it's just straight overcast and it's flat light. When the weather is like this, everyone likes to disappear and like they don't want to take photos. but I love this kind of lighting, and you'll be able to see why in a couple seconds. Out of all the weather environments and different lighting you can get, this is my favorite because of how simple and easy and crisp everything looks with it. As you can see at the histogram, we have barely anything in the highlights and whites. Everything's really dull and muted. But we can up the exposure about a stop, up the contrast. We'll up the highlights a bit this time just to bring out that brightness to it. Up the shadows, decrease the blacks, up the whites. Probably do the blacks a bit more. Cool. And then we can add some vibrance to it. The tone curve will really bring out that contrast as well. Whoa. Misclick. That was weird. Okay. And now since I'm wearing a red hoodie, add the saturation to that and make it pop and stand out. Do a bit to the oranges. The yellows you can see in the background here. You can take away from the aqua and take away from the blue. We really don't need that in my goggles or in the landscape in the back. Lens correction, detail, add 15. So yeah, like my workflow with editing photos does not take that much time at all. And then with this, I can copy and paste it to all the photos from that same day during that same time period, depending on the lighting. But yeah, just looking at this right here, it just stands out so much. GoPro photos during muted weather, looks so good. I love it. And I'm shooting on the Hero 6, by the way, and I'm looking to get a Fusion pretty soon, so we'll see how all that goes. So yeah, the next shot here is from June Mountain. We had a nice powder day, and here's me getting a face shot using the Sandmark pole with my Hero 6. We'll do the same thing, start with sharpening 15, lens correction, turn that on. And the basic here, again, it's really muted, so we'll do the same thing. Do one stop, contrast up, do a bit of the highlights up, and just do that same little routine here. Even bring the exposure down just a bit. Really want to make those shadows stand out since the whole image is just covered in white. Let's see what else we could do here. Yeah, super simple. That took like 30 seconds. Okay, so enough of the GoPro photos for right now. We still have, I think, 1 or 2 more left, but we're going to be doing some Sony shots. So here's an insane view that we saw on our way back from hiking San Gorgonio. We didn't make it to the peak. The trail was completely covered and it was pretty gnarly. You can see that's nicely balanced here. We don't have too much in the white, so let's attack the exposure a bit just to balance everything out. Just by bumping up half a stop, everything got balanced and stretched out a bit, so it's a good foundation to start on. And actually we'll add the lens corrections in detail first. So with the GoPro, I don't really start off with lens corrections because it doesn't adjust the image that much. But on these Sonys, when I shoot wide angle, I'm shooting at a 16mm focal length right now, which is on an APS-C sensor, which is about 24mm. When you do the lens correction on that, it likes to brighten the edges. So that can adjust your image after the fact if you didn't account for that. Cool, so we'll just go through the normal routine here. Pretty much on every photo that I do is this little setup right here. Up, up, down, and up on the vibrance. And before, I used to crush the blacks like mad by like doing that. Not my style anymore. I like keeping it rich in true color. So you can see that this whole section right here is just lost with the shadows. So we can go back and try to pull out more detail in there. And because everything's so lost in here, we could use the radial filter here and draw out a little circle. And we could just bring out, oh, don't forget to invert that, feather it up a bit. And we can mess with the color here a bit, decrease that. Yeah, I'm happy with that so far. So we'll continue down to the HSL. See what else we're working with in here. Yeah, so back in the day I used to use the split toning tool a lot, but I don't touch that anymore. I don't think it's necessary. Some photos need it. I use it 10% of the time, and that's like being generous. So I probably use it 2 to 5% of the time. I never really touch it. So yeah, here's the before and after this image. Brighten it up a bit. We can actually balance out the highlights a bit more. It's a little too much. Yeah. There we are. I like that a lot. The stroke took a long time, so we started early in the morning, left at 4:30 in the morning, got back at like 9 or 10. But this is us about 2 to 4 miles away from our car. And this is like last light, sunset. I'm at shooting at ISO 1000, 22mm, f4, 1/320. Because of the A6500 and the IBIS in it, I could take these slow shutter speeds handheld and come out with a nice image. So yeah, we'll go through our normal thing here. Oh, lens corrections first. We'll do 15. Yeah, so we'll start off with the exposure here. Add some contrast. Take away the highlights from the sky. That's really all that's affecting. Up the shadows a bunch to get that detail, and then increasing the blacks. So yeah, this image looks pretty good so far, nice and balanced. I'll actually bring the shadows down just a bit. I actually like that it's a bit darker. And it's a little too cool for me. So let's bump up to like 7,000. Yeah, it warms it up a bit. I really like that a lot. So yeah, moving on down to the vibrance, we could do that. Same thing with the tone curve. HSO and Jose's backpack and the grass right here. I still make presets. I still have them on my website. I go through here and like with these photos from these different days, I'll make those simple presets and throw them onto similar environments. I don't do all the crazy editing and fancy like grungy stuff. I just like keeping it simple. A lot of it's inspired by Chris Burkard and other photographers alike, but yeah, like they have some really killer stuff, and I love what they're doing. Cool. So on to the next shot. So this is back in April. We went to Slow for the weekend, and the environment there is just nuts. You have the fog rolling in the morning that fades out throughout midday. In the evening, it comes back in, and the lighting is just amazing. You can see it's flat lighting again, so it's perfect. It's up the contrast, bring the highlights down, shadows up, blacks down, and the whites up a tad. Yeah, it looks like we're not being overexposed. Cool. We should bring the shadows down a bit just to keep that balance so we don't mess with the fog. Do the vibrance up. I don't really ever touch saturation. If anything, I bring the saturation down, but I haven't really been doing that recently. So yeah, the tone curve down up, simple S. HSL, since we have a lot of green here, if we wanted to, we can adjust the hue and bring it left to make it a little more orangish yellowish. I'm just going to do that just a bit. And then because the green and yellows get mixed up a bit in Lightroom, you do the same to yellow. Up the saturation a bit. And we'll actually bring the luminance down on that. Oh, lens correction's good, that's good. Cool. Yeah, there's the before and after. I like having the greens be a little more muted and more on the yellow side. That's just my personal taste. When it starts looking like neon green, I usually stay away from that. Yeah, that's one of my favorite images, just the whole mountain just being engulfed by the fog. It's fantastic. When I go through these photos, a lot of the times I'll have to realign them. And a cool shortcut you could do for that is press R. I don't know why that truck picture showed up, but you can press R and you can adjust it like that, hit enter. Or what you could do is press R, click this little guy, and you could be like, oh, I want it to fit that horizon. Boom. But yeah, we just need a tad. I like doing it manual sometimes, it's a little quicker. But yeah, this road is on the way to Montana de Oro. I stuck the camera outside the car just to get something interesting. I'm not going to mess with the whites right there. Can warm it up just a tad. Vibrance. And with this one, we'll do a little grungy one. I had a lot of fun doing that last time, so let's see if I can replicate it. And at the end of the video, I'll show you the original one that I had versus these other two. So yeah, let's get in here. Bring that saturation down. I think there was... Computer slowing down a lot. I really need a new computer. Okay, here we go. I'm not liking these greens with this kind of look. Not so much the yellows. Oh, there we go. It just needed to be darker. And not so warm. Okay, so there's a different style for you guys. I like doing this with photos that I can post on my website or anything like that. It just adds more of a mood to it, having it darker with a little bit of noise. I thought that shot was cool to have that kind of effect on it. But so here's the view at Montana de Oro. You can see Moro Rock in the background, and again, we have that muted light. You can check out the slow video linked below to see like where we went and the adventures. And if you need any recommendations of spots to go to, feel free to message me on Instagram or wherever. Super quick and easy. And looking at that, it's like, okay, I definitely want this to be a little darker, so we won't do the shadows as much. We'll bring those blacks down. And looking at the horizon, it looks pretty good, but we can just do a little test. Cool. Yeah, we'll go through here, bring those down just a bit. Grab the HSL, we could bring the blues down to really pull this out. The aqua, add more saturation there. You can see without doing the lens correction first, the image looks pretty good here and it's nice and dark, but adding it really brought out the edges. So that was my mistake on that, but we can go back and do an easy little fix. Not too bad. A little before and after, just really making it pop. Not a big fan of the blue on Sean, so what we can do is just draw on him a bit. Yeah, we can just mess with him on that. Cool. Yeah, I'm really happy with this image as well. We can even use the graduated filter to bring it down. Just add some more contrast in the sky. Maybe desat it a bit. Bring down the highlights. Boom. Pretty happy with that. Cool. On to the next one. Same spot, but on the GoPro Hero 6. And again, with the flat lighting, I knew that these photos were going to be insane. So we'll just bring the exposure up a bit, contrast up, highlights down, shadows up, whites up, and the blacks down. It's a little too bright, so we'll bring that down a bit. Yeah, the fun part about color grading your own photos is that each and every time, in each new season, you just come out with your own new style. Things change. You kind of like start figuring things out, yeah, and like it's great because like you don't have to copy people, and like it's good to like get inspired from others and like to use their presets and to learn from them and like try to mimic it, because it only expands your horizon. I only did like crushed black photos and like the super moody stuff, and I ended up not liking that, but I really enjoy these images that are just super bright and vivid, and it makes it feel like that you're there. So I'm sure in the next couple months I'll be like, ugh, why'd I go for this style? I'm sure I'll change it down the road, but for now, I'm really enjoying this. Boom. Super simple. By the way, that's my gorgeous girlfriend, Melissa. She's great. My all-time favorite shot I've ever taken. This was in Perfumo Canyon. Yeah, you can see that the edges are vignetted from the 16mm. Yeah, the white balance looks pretty good. Bring the blacks down a bit. Same with the shadows. Vibrance up a bit. We'll do the tone curve. Not really liking that vibrant green, so we can mess with the hue and the saturation on that. Up the saturation a bit in the sky. So far it looks good, but I do want to bring up the shadows just a bit. Yeah, again, just super simple and easy. In our last photo of the day, we were at Pismo Beach, and the sunset was just amazing. The lighting was perfect, and this is just straight from the camera. So the dynamic range on this A6500 is just insane. So the first thing I noticed in this image, it was that the horizon isn't straight. So we just fixed that, and we can see that we're nice and balanced here. It might be a little too dark down here, but that's not where your eyes are drawn. Your eyes are drawn at Sean's feet here. So we can up the exposure a bit. And with this photo, I don't mind having a washed out sky in the background. So if I brought the highlights down, I'd be like, okay, not too bad. If I completely overexpose it, of course not. But we can have like a nice little balance. We'll just bring it down just a bit. Yeah, you can see, this is insane. I didn't even realize this. The whole image right here is black from Sean's feet and down. When we bring up the shadows, we still have all that detail there. So if I wanted to, I can just bring all that up right there and bring that down just a bit, which the original photo that I used didn't have. That's amazing. Cool. Get up the vibrance a bit. Bring the exposure down just a tad. Oh, let's go back to the white balance, because this is at sunset. It's said it's at 7:14, so it's just right before the sun is going down below the horizon. So we want it to be warm, have that nice warm feeling. So you can bring the white balance up just a bit. Dang. Might even bring the exposure down a bit as well. Cool. Yeah, let's go for those warm tones here. And because we're working a skin color, we could take out the red as well when we bring up the orange and yellow. I find that when you have all three up, it doesn't really look that balanced, but when you bring the reds down, it looks really good. So we did the lens correction here. Forgot to do that, but it's okay. Ended up working. Yeah, there's the before and there's the after. So yeah, there it is, guys. My new and improved 2018 workflow for Lightroom. Yeah, I ditched the old style of editing, and it's just really simple, and it helps me get through all my photos quicker. And I like the look way more. So yeah, like, don't be afraid to mess around and try your own style. I plan on doing a video from start to finish, from taking photos to importing them to organizing to export and to uploading to a website or Instagram or whatever. So yeah, we'll do a video like that later on. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought. If you have any video recommendations, leave them down below. Take it easy, guys. Peace.